Today, we are diving deep into one of the most powerful messages of hope in the entire Bible. And what's wild is that it's found right in the middle of one of its darkest books. We're going to explore this incredible story of finding hope right in the ruins.
To really get this, you have to feel the moment. I mean, just picture this. Everything you know, your country, your culture, your faith, your home, is literally about to be wiped off the face of the earth. This isn't just some political problem. It's a we're about to cease to exist kind of crisis. The people of Judah are staring down total annihilation, and the prophet Jeremiah is right there in the thick of it all. So this is the big question, isn't it? It just hangs over these 5 chapters. When everything is gone, when despair is really the only logical thing to feel, what does it even mean to hope? Well, Jeremiah is about to give an answer that is as shocking as it is profound. So here's the journey we're going to take. We'll start with a totally radical promise. Then we'll see a very real, tangible act of faith. We'll grasp the certainty behind that promise, and then we'll see it all contrasted with the failures of the present and a super unlikely model of faithfulness. All right, let's jump into chapter 31. So at rock bottom, just as the nation is taking its last breath, God speaks through Jeremiah. And he doesn't talk about final judgment. Instead, he talks about a future, one defined by total inward renewal. I mean, the sheer scale of this promise is just staggering. This isn't just about, hey, we'll let the survivors come home. No, God promises a complete restoration. He talks about an everlasting love, about rebuilding the whole nation from the ground up, gathering people from the farthest corners of the earth. He even promises to turn their deep, painful mourning into dancing, and this is the big one, to offer total forgiveness. And right here, this is the core of it all. This is the revolutionary idea at the heart of the chapter. God isn't just offering a do-over, he's offering a whole new operating system. The relationship won't be about external rules anymore, but about an internal transformation. This really shows us the profound shift that's happening. Think of a covenant as this sacred binding agreement. The Old Covenant, the one from Sinai, was written on stone tablets. It was an external guide that, as God himself points out, the people broke. But this new covenant, it's radically different. It's written on the heart, designed to change people's actual desires from the inside out. It's meant to create a relationship so personal that everyone, from the least to the greatest, will know God directly. Now let's see how this builds in chapter 32, because if chapter 31 was the promise in words, chapter 32 is that exact same promise, but demonstrated in a powerful physical action. The setting here is just everything. Jeremiah is locked up for predicting this very doom. The enemy army is literally surrounding the city. Real estate values are probably at an all-time low. And at this exact moment, God tells him to go buy a piece of land. It's a command that, let's be honest, sounds completely insane. But Jeremiah obeys. And you have to notice how public and detail-oriented he is about the whole thing. He gets the command, he pays the price in silver, he has a legal deed drawn up and signed in front of witnesses, and then he has it stored away for safekeeping. This isn't some secret personal act of hope. It's a public declaration of faith in a future that absolutely no one else can see.
And that is the true meaning of the act. The field itself wasn't really the point. The purchase was God's living parable. It was a tangible down payment, a divine guarantee that no matter how bad things looked, a day was coming when normal life, buying and selling land, planting vineyards, would actually return. It's a powerful lesson that true hope often requires us to act on a future promise, even when the present reality is screaming the exact opposite. After he does all this, even Jeremiah seems a little overwhelmed by what he's just done. His prayer here really shows us the bedrock of his faith. He basically reminds himself that the God who can create the entire universe can certainly restore one tiny little piece of land. It's his powerful statement that God's power is always, always bigger than any crisis. And that leads us right into chapter 33, where God essentially doubles down on this message. If chapter 32 was about one field, chapter 33 expands that hope to the entire nation and grounds it in the most certain terms you can possibly imagine. The promises here are just breathtakingly complete. God says he will heal the city. The sounds of daily life, of joy, of weddings, they're all going to fill the streets again. And so critically, he reaffirms his foundational covenants, that there will always be a descendant of David to rule and priest to serve. He's promising a full-scale national, social, and spiritual revival.
But, I mean, how can anyone believe this when their whole world is burning down? God gets that. So he offers this incredible analogy to prove just how certain his word really is.
God's proof is as profound as it is simple. He basically says, go outside. Can you stop the sun from rising? Can you stop the night from falling? If you can break the fundamental laws of the universe that I set in motion, only then can my promise to you be broken. His faithfulness is literally woven into the fabric of creation itself. It is unstoppable. So, after that incredible peak of hope, chapter 34 brings us crashing right back down to the grim reality of the present. It pivots from the certainty of God's faithfulness to the tragedy of Judah's unfaithfulness, and it shows us exactly why this judgment was so necessary in the first place.
Okay, so here's what went down. With the siege tightening, the king and the people make this solemn vow to God to free their Hebrew slaves, which was something their own law demanded anyway. And for a minute, they actually do it. But then the Babylonian army temporarily pulls back, and seeing this little glimmer of false hope, they betray their vow and immediately force their brothers and sisters right back into slavery. It is just a staggering act of hypocrisy. God's response is one of the most chilling judgments in the entire Bible. His voice is just cold with irony. You refuse to proclaim liberty to your neighbor, he says, so I will proclaim a liberty for you, liberty to be destroyed by war, disease, and starvation. The punishment is this perfect, devastating mirror of their crime. It proves that there are dire consequences for breaking faith with God and with other people. And that brings us to our final section, chapter 35, where God uses this really surprising case study to hold up a mirror to Judah's disobedience. He finds an example of faithfulness in the most unlikely of places. So God sets up a test. He has Jeremiah bring in this nomadic family, the Rechabites, and offer them wine to drink right there in the temple. Now, it seems like just a simple act of hospitality, but it's actually a divinely set up object lesson. And this contrast just reveals the heart of the whole issue. The Rechabites refuse the wine. Why? Simply because centuries earlier, their ancestor Jonadab told them not to. They show absolute unwavering obedience to the command of a long-dead human father. And then God turns to Judah and basically says, this family listens to their ancestor. But you? I am your divine father. I rescued you, I taught you, I sent prophets to you over and over, and you have consistently refused to listen. The comparison is absolutely damning. So as we bring this all together, we're left with this powerful tension. We see that God's promises of renewal are actually most powerful in our darkest moments. We learn that true faith isn't just a feeling, it's an action. It's buying a field in a war zone. And we're confronted with the harsh reality that our choices have real, tangible consequences. Ultimately, this entire section is this profound meditation on what it really means to be faithful when it matters most. And this really leaves us with a final question. The book of Jeremiah shows us that God's promises are as reliable as the sunrise, but he also asks for faithfulness in return. So the question for us is, what does that kind of steadfast obedience, the kind the Rechabites showed their father and that God wants from us, what does that look like in our own lives right here, right now?